The animation fill mode property defines what values are applied by an animation outside of the time it is executing. So specifically, it's going to define what styles are applied to the element during the animation delay time and also after the animation has finished execution. This is a little hard to explain, so it's better if I just show you. I have this bubble element that I've made. Here's the code that we're going to be focusing on in this example. I'll go ahead and I'll set up some keyframes. I'm going to call my keyframes roll. And for the from property, I'm going to use transform, and we're going to use translate x. And I'll just start off by having this start at 0. I'm going to rotate, and we'll say 0 degrees. And let's just have the scale of this element start off at 0.5. Then I'll go ahead and I'll add the to property. And again, I'm going to translate in X, but I'm going to translate 200 pixels. I'll rotate 360 degrees, and I'm going to scale 0.25. Now I'll need to go ahead and I'll need to apply the animation to the bubble element. So I'm going to use bubble. I'm going to go ahead and put animation, and I'll put animation name. We're going to call the animation of roll, and for the animation duration, we'll just say that this is going to have 3 seconds. So if we play this, you can see that this element is going to roll across the page. Now when the animation is done, it pops back to its original state, both in the rotation, the scaling, and the location. What we'll do is we'll add the property of animation fill mode. And I'm going to start off by telling it to go forwards. So if we play the animation with no other change, you're going to see that it plays, but that the element ends up on the right side. It doesn't change its ending position. As you saw from before, when you create CSS animations, they don't affect the element you're animating until the first keyframe is played, and then it stops affecting it once the last keyframe has been completed. This sometimes leaves you with some awkward jumps and cuts, so you can use the animation fill mode to smooth the transitions into the animation styles and outside them when the animation is essentially done playing. So as you can see from this example, you can have the element keep the styles that are applied to it at the end of the animation, the ones that are on the last keyframe. So once the animation is finished, this will prevent that jumping back to the initial styles. So if you ever want something that you animate to remain in its final position, then the animation fill mode property can help with that. So what forwards does is when the animation is done executing, it's played however many number of times you've specified if you're using the animation iteration count value. It'll continue to apply the values that ended its last complete iteration with. So these are going to be the values specified on the to setting of your keyframes entry. Now, if we change this value to backwards and save and play our animation, you're going to see that the animation appears as it does initially. It looks like no change has happened. So let me show you how backwards can be helpful. I'm going to add an animation delay to my animation, and we'll just make the animation delay 1.5 seconds. Then I'm going to change the animation. So instead of starting by translating X at 0, I'm going to translate X at -50 pixels. This is essentially going to pull the bubble to the left before it starts moving to the right. Let me comment out backwards for a minute so that you can see the default behavior. If I play the animation, it sits here for 1.5 seconds, and then it quickly bounces to the left before it begins to roll to the right. I'll play that one more time. Sits for 1.5 seconds, bounces over to the left, and then rolls to the right. Watch what happens when we put the animation fill mode of backwards onto the element. Now when I click play, you can see that the element is going to start at whatever settings we've specified in the from property. Our translate X of -50 pixels and our rotate and our scale are being applied to the element. The delay is there, and then it rolls to the right. So that can definitely be helpful when you want to have some sort of pause and your element might be moving in a way where there would be a jump before the delay kicks in. So this will allow you to have a little bit of a smoother animation in many instances. So it's worth noting that if the animation's first keyframe styles are the same as the element's styles before the animation was applied, then the backwards value may not have a noticeable effect. Backwards is really only going to affect the element when there is some change in the element styles from the original styling and when the animation was applied. Now, what if I wanted to have both of those animation fill modes taking effect? I want it to start like it does here, and then when it's completed, I want it to stay over here on the right. Well, we have one more value that we can pass in, and that is both. And when we pass in both backwards and forwards are going to be applied. So you can see that my element starts partially off the page, there's a delay, and then it rolls to the right, and then it ends and stays on the right. The other value, which we really only use with JavaScript, is none, and the animation is going to have no effect when it's applied but not executing. So that's not going to change anything for us on our example. So hopefully now you can see how the animation fill mode could potentially offer support to your animations and allow you to have precise control on how you want the animation to begin or end.